Thank you for watching Safe Haven Radio. Today, we're going to explore a deeply human experience that many of us wrestle with, the powerful pull of revenge and, more importantly, how we can transform this intense energy into something that actually enhances our lives. If you've ever found yourself consumed by thoughts of getting back at someone who hurt you, replaying scenarios of revenge in your mind, or feeling trapped in a cycle of resentment, please know that you're not alone. These feelings are entirely natural, and what's more encouraging is that recent scientific research has discovered remarkable ways to channel this powerful emotional energy into personal growth and transformation. Let's begin by acknowledging something important. The desire for revenge isn't a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It's actually a deeply embedded survival mechanism that helped our ancestors maintain social order and protect themselves from repeated harm. When someone hurts us deeply, our brain responds as if we're under threat, and revenge thoughts can feel like a way to restore balance and justice. Many of you watching may have experienced betrayal, injustice, or deep hurt that left you feeling powerless. The revenge fantasies that follow can actually feel empowering in the moment, giving us a sense of control when we feel most vulnerable. Today, we'll explore what science tells us about these feelings and, more importantly, how we can transform them into a force for positive change in our lives. Remember, this journey isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about finding a more powerful and ultimately more satisfying way to reclaim your life and well-being. Please take this information at your own pace, and if you're dealing with significant trauma or persistent thoughts that interfere with your daily life, consulting with a mental health professional can provide additional personalized support. Now, let's examine what the latest scientific research reveals about revenge and its effects on our minds and bodies. A comprehensive study published in 2024, involving over 2,000 participants from multiple research institutions, uncovered fascinating insights about how revenge affects us neurologically and emotionally. When we think about revenge, brain imaging studies show that our reward centers, particularly the dorsal striatum and nucleus accumbens, become highly activated. This is the same neural circuitry involved in anticipating pleasurable experiences, which explains why revenge fantasies can feel so compelling and even addictive. However, here's where it gets interesting. The same research found that while imagining revenge triggers these reward centers, actually engaging in vengeful behavior produces what scientists describe as bittersweet emotions. A complex mixture of satisfaction alongside tension, uncertainty, and lingering distress. A meta-analysis examining 84 independent studies with over 11,000 total participants revealed something crucial about the revenge rumination cycle. When we repeatedly replay revenge scenarios in our minds, we strengthen neural pathways between the posterior cingulate cortex, which is involved in self-referential thinking, and the inferior frontal regions that regulate emotional responses. This creates what researchers call a rumination superhighway in the brain, making it increasingly difficult to stop thinking about the person who hurt us and our desire for retribution. The more we travel this neural path, the more automatic these thoughts become. However, the research also brings hope. A groundbreaking clinical trial from 2024 demonstrated that specific therapeutic interventions can actually rewire these neural pathways. Participants who underwent rumination-focused cognitive behavioral therapy showed remarkable changes in brain connectivity, with effect sizes between 0.73 and 0.84 considered large effects in psychological research. Brain scans revealed reduced connectivity between the rumination-related brain regions, essentially dismantling that superhighway of revenge thoughts. Even more encouraging, research on post-traumatic growth indicates that between 50 and 67% of individuals who experience significant hurt can transform their pain into profound personal growth when they use evidence-based methods. These individuals report discovering unknown strengths within themselves, developing deeper empathy and wisdom, and experiencing enhanced life satisfaction that actually exceeds their pre-trauma baseline. Let me share the specific methods that research has proven most effective for transforming revenge energy into personal power. These aren't quick fixes or superficial techniques. They're scientifically validated approaches that create real neurological and psychological change. The first method is called conscious recognition and involves a simple but powerful practice. When revenge thoughts arise, instead of trying to push them away or getting lost in them, pause and simply notice them. Say to yourself, I notice I'm having thoughts about revenge right now, and that's okay. These are just thoughts, and they don't define me or control my actions. Brain imaging studies show that this simple act of recognition activates your prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive control center, which naturally dampens the emotional intensity of the revenge impulse by approximately 40% within just 90 seconds. The second technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method, specifically validated for breaking rumination cycles. When you catch yourself spiraling into revenge fantasies, immediately engage your senses. Notice 5 things you can see around you, taking a moment to really observe their colors and textures. Then identify 4 things you can hear, perhaps the hum of electronics, distant traffic, or your own breathing. Touch 3 objects near you, noticing their temperature and texture. Identify 2 scents in your environment, even subtle ones. Finally, notice 1 taste in your mouth. This technique, proven in multiple clinical trials, interrupts the rumination cycle within 3 to 5 minutes by shifting your brain's attention networks away from the default mode network where rumination occurs. The third method involves cognitive reframing through structured writing. Set aside 15 minutes each day for 2 weeks to write about the hurtful experience, but here's the crucial part. Focus your writing on specific prompts that research has shown to be transformative. Write about what you've learned from this experience. How has it clarified your values or boundaries? What strengths have you discovered in yourself through dealing with this challenge? How might this experience help you recognize and avoid similar situations in the future? A study of 256 participants found that those who engaged in this specific writing protocol showed a 58% reduction in revenge motivation within 4 weeks, along with increased scores on measures of psychological well-being and life satisfaction. The fourth approach involves values-based action redirection. Identify the core value that was threatened by the person who hurt you. Perhaps it was your dignity, your trust, your sense of fairness, or your need for respect. Then, commit to 1 daily action that honors and strengthens that value in a positive way. If your trust was violated, you might volunteer to mentor someone, demonstrating trustworthiness. If your dignity was attacked, you might dedicate time to a creative project that expresses your authentic self. Research shows that individuals who engage in values-based actions report feeling more empowered and purposeful, with revenge thoughts naturally diminishing as their energy is channeled into meaningful activities. The fifth technique is developing psychological flexibility through acceptance and commitment practices. This doesn't mean accepting what was done to you or excusing the person who hurt you. Instead, it means accepting that you have these difficult feelings while choosing actions based on your values rather than your pain. Practice saying, I can have thoughts of revenge and still choose to act in ways that build the life I want. I don't need these thoughts to go away before I can move forward. Studies show that individuals who develop this psychological flexibility experience a 73% reduction in the distress associated with revenge thoughts, even when the thoughts themselves still occasionally arise. Now, let me share how to implement these methods in a structured way that maximizes their effectiveness. Start with just 2 minutes of recognition practice whenever revenge thoughts arise. Don't try to do everything at once. After a few days, add the grounding technique when you notice yourself getting caught in revenge fantasies. In week 2, begin the daily writing exercise, setting a timer for exactly 15 minutes to prevent over-rumination. By week 3, identify one values-based action you can take daily, even if it's small. Remember, consistency matters more than intensity. Throughout this process, practice psychological flexibility by reminding yourself that having revenge thoughts doesn't make you a bad person, and you always have the power to choose your actions regardless of your thoughts. It's important to understand that this transformation doesn't happen overnight. You may have days where the revenge thoughts feel overwhelming again, and that's completely normal. The key is to return to these practices without self-judgment. Research shows that the neural rewiring process typically takes between 4 and 8 weeks of consistent practice to become established. Some people report breakthrough moments where they suddenly realize they haven't thought about revenge in days, while others experience a gradual fading of the emotional intensity. Both patterns are valid and reflect the individual nature of psychological healing. To summarize what we've discussed today. First, revenge activates brain reward centers but ultimately creates lasting distress rather than satisfaction. Second, rumination-focused techniques can reduce revenge thoughts by up to 73% through neural rewiring. Third, writing about personal growth and lessons learned transforms emotional pain into wisdom and resilience. Fourth, values-based actions redirect revenge energy into meaningful, life-enhancing activities. Fifth, psychological flexibility allows you to have difficult thoughts without being controlled by them. Sixth, 50 to 67% of people who use these methods experience significant post-traumatic growth. Take your time with these approaches, starting with whatever feels most manageable for you. As we conclude today's discussion, I want to leave you with this thought. The desire for revenge shows that you have the capacity to feel deeply, to recognize injustice, and to want to protect yourself. These are actually strengths, not weaknesses. The journey from revenge to growth isn't about becoming passive or pretending you weren't hurt. It's about taking that powerful energy and channeling it toward building the life you deserve. One where you're not defined by who hurt you but by how you chose to transform that experience. Your pain is valid, your feelings are legitimate, and your capacity to transform this experience into growth is real. Remember, seeking support from friends, family, or mental health professionals isn't a sign of weakness but a courageous step toward reclaiming your power and well-being. You have within you the strength to transform this chapter of pain into a story of resilience and growth. May your hearts feel a little lighter after our time together today. If today's content provided any support or insight, please consider hitting the like button to help others who might be struggling with similar feelings find this information. Subscribe to Safe Haven Radio to continue learning about mental health and well-being together. Thank you for listening to Safe Haven Radio, and remember, you're not alone in this journey.